Tim Green and I first connected over Instagram and later co hosted an event at the London based Subdial, the growing pre owned watch dealership. You may be familiar with his watch drop videos on YouTube, an exploratory look at some of their weekly inbound inventory. Tim has had a storied history in England as both a watch collector and automotive aficionado. He jokes many car dealers know him by name. We discuss the revolving door of owning both categories and his constant pursuit of perfection. Tim recently purchased not one, but two Porsches, and we also discussed what might be his perfect three-watch collection. All this and more with Mr. Tim Green. I'm your host, Wesley Smith, and you're listening to the Standard Age Podcast. Happy New Year. Tim Green, my man, how are you? Red sweater.
Yeah, yes, indeed. I guess it's actually a vintage Ralph Lauren sweater I picked up in Boston a couple of months ago.
What were
I'm
you
quite
doing
pleased
in
with it.
Boston?
Well, that's a good question. I was meeting a client actually. It seems to be a little pocket of a place where we've got lots of clients, and it's always nice to go over there. I really like that city. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
find a way to maximize my window. There we go. Yeah, I love it over there, actually.
Yeah, Boston's great. Super walkable city.
Yeah,
It's a small city, so naturally you could walk, but clearly tons of history.
and one of the things that I don't know. Are we recording? Can I
We're
jump in?
on, buddy.
Oh,
Yep.
we're on.
We're in
Okay.
it. This is the
Now,
conversation.
oh gosh. Okay. One of the things I go to the US quite a bit, and a bit like in London, people are wary about what watches they wear. But in Boston, it doesn't seem to be the case. I
Mm,
talked to a few people there, and they said that it's touch wood, a very safe city.
right.
It's always really nice because, really the only place that I wear my watches is out in the countryside where no one really gives a damn. And it's nice to be able to go out to dinner in Mayfair or whatever and wear something that other people might glimpse at and appreciate. But yeah, at the New Forest where I live, that's never the case.
Yeah, no, for sure. What do you typically wear in London then when you report to the office, so to speak?
You know, increasingly it's pocket watches, which is a bit silly and a bit eccentric. But I quite like the feeling of not having a wristwatch on when you're walking around London. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Is it? Oh, it's an IWC. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so familiar. Actually, that design. Justin, our good friend Justin Hurst, has got an aluminium Vacheron that is exactly the same style with the Brega numerals, and that's sitting with me at the moment because we did a podcast together and I borrowed it. But wow, those things are amazing. I'm lucky enough that I've just picked up what I think is sort of my Grail pocket watch, which is a Patek Ellipse pocket watch. They made very few of them,
did you
and
get it from John Reardon?
I did not
Oh,
know. No, I know if he'd have seen it before me, he would have probably snapped it up because he loves them.
yeah.
But I beat him on this occasion.
Where'd you pick that up?
Where did I pick it up? I picked it up from a European dealer called Peluco. And I've met Carlos a couple of times now at Cartier events, things like that. Lovely, lovely guy.
Right.
And he seems to be able to source some really obscure stuff. Really, really cool. I
Oh, that's
love
cool.
those European dealers that typically European, but those ones that manage to get hold of stock that I've just not seen for such a long time. And
There's a
yeah,
new dealer I found I didn't find. In fact, Grant Wilson from IWC. Do you know
yeah,
Grant?
I know
Yeah,
Grant.
very
Yeah,
yeah. He and I chat almost every day. Like
yeah,
it's
really.
yeah, he's the best.
Oh,
Um
that's fantastic.
he switched me on to this dealer and forgive me, I'm gonna look them up really quickly. And while I'm doing that, where do we find you? Are you at home?
No, I'm in the clubhouse at Subdial HQ in
Okay,
London.
so this is the new spot.
Yeah, this is one of the spots. Yeah, it's I mean, you went to the last place. This is a bit more grown up. This
Oh
is
wow,
our
look at this.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
our clubhouse sort of event space, and then we've got a boutique at the front. and yeah, workshop and everything downstairs. We sort of tripled or quadrupled in size and grown up a little bit with the decor. But no, we're
Wow.
slowly feeling more and more at home here.
I was gonna say that room alone looks to be almost the exact size of the old place.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't know.
We're
It's
growing up.
called Goldammer. Do you
Oh,
know Gold
Goldhammer, yeah, yeah,
Goldammer?
yeah. He's the guy that likes stroking watches on Instagram.
Well, he's always got this really dark, moody light,
Yeah,
but the
yeah.
watches look insane. I mean, the guy has 540,000, followers
I
on
know, it's
Instagram.
impressive, isn't
But
it?
as if he needs more promoting, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, at any rate, yeah, so that's he's got a lot of these vintage IWCs that of course I'm like a huge IWC nut and
Yeah.
yeah, that in fact I normally don't have this much stuff on my desk, but I just actually I'm gonna sound like a jerk, but I got two watches last week.
That's
And
good
this
going.
is this is one of them.
Right. See, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Oh, I
this
like
is
that dial a lot.
1942, a Hermet, a 308,
Amazing. Doesn't
two-tone
look like
copper dial.
doesn't look that old, does it? It's
It's
very, very
timeless.
contemporary in design. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm absolutely in love with it. That integrated crown is just so cool, and but anyway, it's less about me, obviously more about you. I can already tell you're gonna have to come back on the show because like we
Oh
have
no.
way too much to talk about.
Yes.
Um,
Watches, cars, bikes, clothes, all of that.
yeah, everything. I did zero research on you by the way.
There's
Like
nothing to find. I'm a
all
mystery.
yeah, all I have to chat with you about is everything that I've just probably we've swapped DMs on and and
Yeah,
talked in
yeah.
person about. But like what was the career before watches? Or are you still
Oh,
working outside of this or is this full time?
no, no. I gave up proper work about 5 years ago now.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, my path to watches is a bit random, frankly. I've loved watches since I was a kid. So, I mean, that hasn't gone away. That was me, buying Timex Iron Men, when I was 5 years old.
Yeah.
And but my actual career was I'm an engineer. I'm a chartered engineer, structural engineer,
Oh wow.
and, which is a bit random. And I went from that into management consulting because at the time, actually in London, it was around the time of the London Olympics, and there were lots of consulting firms that were sort of snapping up engineering people. And
For the build out?
yeah, for the build up, but really more about sort of program management and just to have those sorts of CVs on file to make the consulting firm seem a little bit more reputable. Uh, and so I went into management consulting and I didn't do any of that real estate or infrastructure stuff. I went straight into working in banks and law firms, which was completely random and took me by surprise. But I really loved the sort of learning something new every day.
Mm.
And gosh, I grew up quite a lot. I turned up on day one at Ernst& Young with my scientific calculator and my like engineer's handbook, and I was straight into doing sort of slides, PowerPoint stuff on, banking mergers and whatever. And it's a real baptism of fire, but I think I'm a better person for it.
Oh, interesting.
That career path is a great way of learning sort of how to think on your feet,
Mm.
how to be quote unquote the smartest person in the room, even if you're not, and and just sort of learning really interesting approaches to solving problems. So I became actually a pretty good management consultant, I think, compared to some.
Yeah.
uh, and I did some amazing projects, particularly in banking, which really wasn't of interest to me at the time. But you have these multi-billion-dollar projects that you're working on, where you're moving thousands of people from London to India or somewhere like that, and you learn all these skills that are actually really, really transferable. And I've definitely become a better professional through going through some of the big four companies. But the one place that really resonated with me the most was the legal industry. I ended up working for a couple of big law firms, and I've really enjoyed that. Like the passion that you get, because those firms are typically owned by partners, as opposed to being a sort of corporation where you've got C-suite and you've got, you might have senior people, directors in there, but they don't really have equity in the firm. Whereas law firms are owned and run by the partner group.
Right.
And these really, really interesting sort of cultures, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But then, Subdial came around, and Ross and Christie, who started Subdial a couple of years before I joined, they're also from Ernst and Young, so
Oh,
we've
wow.
got a lot of crossover in our backgrounds, and they're a little bit younger than me, but they started Subdial, and I was their biggest customer for a couple of years. You know me well enough. I think that I bought a few watches. You could
Yes.
see. And then we spent a lot of time talking, and through that time, probably a year and a half of me working, I say working with them, but talking to them a lot as a client, I realized there was a real opportunity. Those guys are fascinating, Christy and Ross. If you get a chance to talk to them
Yeah, I haven't.
depth, then you'll be interested by them, because they're not really watch people. They actually were multiple entrepreneurs.
Oh,
They
wow.
started a business in sort of food, and even sort of reselling pre-owned bikes and things
Oh,
like that,
cool.
to try and find their own niche, and stumbled on watches. And then, yeah, I mean, a year and a half of them running it out of their, I guess, their bedrooms, and
Well,
then
they picked a very good time to start a
they
watch
did,
business.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then
Wait, so do
and then
you
we got
have, sorry to interrupt. Do you
yeah, yeah.
have do you have equity stake then? Have
I
you
do,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. That
okay.
was that was part of it. So, that we did a lot of business, and then we realized that there was a lot of crossover, and I could bring a
Yeah,
lot to the table. And I wasn't really looking to leave consulting, but this seemed like an opportunity, and to do something that I love. And yeah, so we raised enough money for me to come in as an equity partner into the business,
great.
and I run the sort of buying and selling component, the head of commercial, we call it at the moment.
Sure.
For want of a better term, I sort of saunter around a lot, really, talking to customers, and then occasionally doing a video.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
but I love it, and we're quite a young business. I'm one of the grey-haired lot in this firm, which is a bit strange for me.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, I know the feeling well. Yeah, that's funny.
yeah, no looking back though. I love it.
You've said recently, and we'll jump around here as
Sure.
we often do. But you said that buying a watch similar to the one that you're actually searching for is a recipe for disaster. And
Yeah.
and I really want to hear more about that and what watch in particular that's
I've got
affect
so many
or it has
though,
a,
mate,
yeah, it's probably
so
multiple,
many.
isn't it?
Because the one that you're always searching for is the
Yeah.
sort of niche, really, really special thing. I'll
Yeah.
give you a really good example, one that I was talking about, last week actually, at Zeitwerk.
Oh God. Yeah.
The
Say
very
less.
first Zeitwerk.
I love
Yeah,
Zeitwerk.
they're
Yeah.
amazing watches, and I've had a couple of them. And the one that I bought first was the 140 dot 029, which is a white gold black dial, and it's the first one that they came out with,
That's
and
my
it's really,
favorite
really
one.
special. It's so good. But
Oh,
the one that I really wanted was the Lumen version of that in platinum.
okay. Sure.
It's called the Phantom, and that is just probably one of the most beautiful watches I think ever produced. And you look at the 140.029, and it's 95% the watch, but
Yeah.
it's not the one you want.
So
And
here's my
I can't,
question. With
yeah.
your expert knowledge, what is the market on each of those watches currently?
Yeah, so the 140.029 is probably approaching a record low, actually, because I mean, they retail now at nearly £100,000, I think,
Right.
and the newer version of it. But you can probably buy them in the late 30s. That's in
You think
pounds.
so?
So, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know so. Yeah. Um,
Ooh,
and then
that's
if you look at, so I mean, how much watch is that for the money? So,
it,
so much. And
exorbitant.
it's mad. It's absolutely mad. And but then if you look at the Phantom, the Lumen version,
Right.
that's probably a £250,000 watch. It's a very, very expensive watch. They made
Yeah.
100 of them, but it's just so special.
Yeah.
It's so contemporary, but yet so sort of uniquely Langer and German and
Yeah. You know
yeah.
what's funny? I never thought about it, but I and I might be crazy for thinking this, but only due to this conversation, the Lumen almost looks older than
Yeah, yeah,
because having so much black on the dial makes it look so much more modern,
it does. It does.
and then the Lumen almost not like skeletonizes it, but I mean, it does in a way, but it just
Kind of.
reminds me of like seeing parts and like it almost makes it look older. I never gave that an ounce of thought before.
Oh,
Um,
they're so good. And they re-released the Lumen in a honey gold with the new movement with a sort of hour jump accelerator button.
right.
And I always thought that would be a watch that I would love, but having seen one, it's not quite as quirky and I don't know. It doesn't come together quite as well as the original Lumen's artwork, which
Yeah.
for me, I've actually never had hands-on with. They are really rare,
Yeah.
and I want one so badly.
I've only seen it on the cover of Hodinki's magazine.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. K2 Luxury have one up at the moment. Oh, wow. The photos are amazing. And
Yeah.
every time I see it, I just covet it.
Yeah. 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 I might edit this out. Can you hear my daughter?
I can't.
You
No,
can't. Oh,
no.
great. Okay. So my 6.5-month-old is here on the floor next to me, and
How's she
she's like,
doing?
"Oh, she's great, man. She's the best." She's just she's babbling very early, so she's almost
Yeah.
saying "dada" already.
I
And
love
so
it.
she was just doing that, and I was like, "Oh God, please don't come through on the podcast."
No,
Anyway,
no,
I'll just leave
it
that
wouldn't be
in
a
so
nice.
it's less stress for me to edit later. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so what world do you live in that you just bought two new cars? Because you DM'd me and you just said, Wesley, it might be high time we finally record because I just bought two cars. Surely you can
Yeah.
hear that. Hi. Let me move
No, I
her really
can't.
quick. Hang on, hang on.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
He's usually silent, so I
Oh,
apologize.
oh, you got a
Um,
lucky.
she's really the best, but like I don't she's very vocal today. Okay, so the 993 C2S I'm highly convinced is a rare car because
Yeah,
you
it is.
always see C4Ss
Yeah.
because of the overproduction of the turbo body is what I've understood.
Yeah, and the C2S had the turbo body, but the one thing that they had that was different was that rear spoiler that was cut in two. And I think that line down the middle just works so perfectly with
Right.
this big rear end. It
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I don't know why I love it so much, but I really do. The issue is that it's not the most practical car for me. So although I've had two of them, I always struggle to keep them because it gets to this kind of time of year in England, we're approaching winter and the weather has really turned.
Yeah.
And it's just, the seals on that car are not great. You get steamed up windows everywhere you go. And it's almost worth the sacrifice, but not quite. So I wanted to go for a C4, which I can drive through the winter, four-wheel drive. There's lots of puddles around where I live, and lots of tractors have been out on the country roads and sort of grit and clay stuff on the road, and a C4 works really well in that environment.
Nice.
But my other 911 is a GT3. It's a 997.2. So you saw me, I think, when you were over in London. I had a 991.2.
Okay, that's where I was gonna go with this. Yeah. Okay, so
Yeah,
we got rid of the other one,
yeah.
which was a touring, right? You had a
Yeah,
touring
that's right.
before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, my best.
Yeah,
That's just the best.
those two cars, the 997.2 and the 991.2, are, I think, the best GT3s made. And I mean, not to sound too full of myself. But and it's because of this problem that I have in buying nice things, watches and cars. I think those two are the ones that are the best, and I've had all of them, and I keep coming back to the 997.2 and the 991.2.
So when you're buying, trading, are you searching for a certain spec that you're not finding, but you're still getting the driver experience? Or like what's this round table sort of or
The
the
revolving
circular
door.
door? Yeah, the revolving door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, no, it's this curse I have for perfection, and uh, unfortunately for me, money is not infinite. Maybe one day I'll be closer to that goal, but right now there's only so much. Well, there's only so much room in my life, in my driveway, and in my
Yeah.
garage.
Yeah.
And but also money in the bank, and so I'm searching for this perfect car that I can drive all year round. I can enjoy. I won't lose a lot of money on it because it's collectible,
Hmm.
and I have that. It has that appeal where you park it up in the car park, and I go off and get the train to London, and I turn around and I think that's a great car, you
Yeah.
know, and oh gosh, I just flip-flop between what that car is. Um, and so I think, touch wood, I'm in a pretty strong place. My two fun cars at the moment, two fun Porsches, I should say, are this 997.2 GT3, which is a club sport. It's in Guards red. It's got the spec that you want. I didn't think I'd
Okay.
be a Guards red guy, but
Yeah.
it comes together on this one. They
Well,
are really.
your polo sweater will
There
argue
you go. Yeah,
otherwise. Yeah.
Guards red
Yeah.
sweater. Yeah.
Did you drive it to work today?
No, no, I'm in the C4
Okay.
now just because the weather's turned. So that
Right.
one's parked up and stored.
Got it.
Um, and then yeah,
Where
and
did you
then
are these are all right-hand drive cars?
yes, they are. Yeah,
So where
yeah.
did you find the GT3?
I am quite well known to a few UK dealers,
Sure.
as you would be. I mean, I think I've had 7 GT3s now, which is
Wow.
it's a bit absurd, and yeah, it's this is a bit like a therapy session.
So yeah, yeah, no,
I
you're
don't
not
say
the
this
first
stuff
to
out
say
loud.
this. You're not the first to
I don't
say it.
talk about this too much because it's a little bit embarrassing when you're sort of faced with it.
No.
But the fact is that I'm a little bit OCD with cars and watches and things, and so I'm just searching for this perfection state. But then everything changes in the background, my life and my requirements for a car. I've just moved to the countryside, and so
Sure.
all of a sudden it's a totally different requirement.
Okay, so if we're gonna stick on the GT3, because obviously with the C4 you
Yeah,
made the comments about the weather and the
yeah.
potholes, let's call them, around the neighborhood. I want to focus on this OCD because I too have it,
Yeah.
like to a certain degree. And
I,
I'm gonna go wash my car after this, actually.
I
Not because we're talking about it,
you
but
might
because
do
I
mine.
planned on washing it. But and so with the GT3s, if you when you are this person who's owned 7 of these things and you are quite obsessive, what are the shortcomings that you've come across that have been like, yeah, this isn't perfect? Like what are the things that haven't ticked the boxes or have like rubbed you the wrong way?
So I I flip-flop between Porsche and not Porsche. I tend to end back with Porsche. I've been through sort of Ferrari and McLaren and Aston Martin, all of those cars that you think you want, and then you get them and you're like, oh God, I'm that guy in a balding middle-aged man in a Ferrari. I don't want to be that guy.
I see what you
So
mean.
so
Okay.
then you catch a glimpse in a shop window as you're driving through London, and you're just like, oh gosh, what do I look like? So I have that curse. Uh, and then in Porsche itself, I'm never too sure what iteration, which model I like. 997 to 991 I mentioned. They're the two that I really, really like. And then I go through stages of thinking GT3, is that just a little bit ridiculous to have a track car on the road, particularly when you're in central London a lot of the time? And I think the answer on that is yes. It's when you've got a heavy clutch in a 997.2 and you've got a roll cage in the back and it's super stiff and you're going over all these potholes, it's not a nice experience. But as I mentioned before, I've moved out to the countryside now. I'm on the south coast in a place called the New Forest, and the roads there are beautiful and quiet. And when you get a Sunday morning, or I mean, for me, I wake up early and I drive to the station before I get a train into London, and that morning drive is and evening drive on the way back is just one of those beautiful moments. I think the best drive I've ever had in my life was driving my McLaren back from the station of an evening where the sun was setting and there was empty roads and that's just a moment that I wish I could bottle that feeling.
Wait, so you leave this thing at the train station all day
Oh
while
yeah,
you go
yeah,
work? Oh, see,
yeah.
I
I
wouldn't
did.
do that.
I often leave it for days on end, but I'm not going to tell you and the listeners where I leave it. It's a secret location.
Oh
But
no, that's totally fine. I mean I drive my 911 to, and look, I just have a 997.1 C2S, so we're not
yeah, but
McLaren
the
money,
spec
we're
on
not
yours,
Ferrari. And I'll drive it to LA, but
yeah,
it's not like I'm parking it downtown for the day and leaving it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah.
but
Well, I mean, that's another component to my decision making is, should I be leaving some of these cars where I leave them? But if I don't, then why am I even having them?
that's
I'm not
fair.
someone that just parks them up in
Yeah.
a barn somewhere and looks at them. I love to drive them. That's a whole
Yeah.
thing.
That's the best. So wait,
Yeah.
do you have the 4 liter?
No, so my current one is a 3.8. They went to
Okay.
4 liter in the 991.2, but the one you saw in London when you were here, that was a 4 liter.
I didn't know if you had the 997 4.0, you know,
Oh
with the
gosh, no, no,
stroke.
no,
No, okay,
no,
okay, okay.
no. That's a little bit more expensive than mine.
That's
Yeah.
lumen money, you know? Like that's like lumen to or that's like Zeitwerk to Zeitwerk lumen
It
jump,
is
you
exactly
know?
this,
Yeah.
exactly this. Yeah,
So Tony Traina posted your Aquanaut,
he
the
did. Yeah,
Japanese.
I sat next to him in an auction in Geneva a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I was wearing that thing, and he spotted it and said, "Oh, I love these. Can I take a photo?" And yeah, it's nice when you sit next to people that appreciate the same things. And Tony and I like the same watches. We like Lange, we like neo vintage, And so yeah, that's what happened.
So it's funny you mentioned Neo Vintage. I'll get there in a second, but that's a 5066
Yeah,
technically?
that it's a Dash 11, which is
Okay.
the Japan edition. So what's special about that is that the dial is blue, and it comes with this very, very hard to get hold of blue strap.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I had to go out to Geneva to get the right strap for it because it was owned by a lady before me, and her wrist was probably 13 centimeters. Mine's more like 18, and so I could wear it with the deployant open and basically fit. Uh,
So you could
um,
try it on and see if the size works.
yeah, yeah, just about. If I could squeeze my hand through But no, I love that watch. I really do. I've
I'm
always loved the earlier Aquanauts.
Yeah, same. I'm a 5065 guy. Like
So is
I
Justin.
aspire to own that at some point. Oh yeah, Justin and I have gone back and forth on that one before.
Yeah.
Have you had multiple Aquanauts?
Yeah,
Have you?
I've had all of them. Uh,
Okay.
I've had a 5065. The only one I haven't had is the 5065 in yellow gold. And
Okay.
the chap that runs Instagram, I can't remember his name now, but he has one. And every time he does his video and he's wearing it, I always think, God, he looks so effortlessly cool. So that's on my bucket list.
Okay. All right. So what do you have a favorite Aquanaut then, or is it that one?
The one that I've got, in fact, there is a plum version of it, which they've only made a few, like a handful of. I'd love to find that. But in the meantime, I'm happy with the blue dial.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't even know that I'm familiar with the plum one.
Yeah,
Um,
it's out there.
so what made you move so far outside of London?
You know,
Just peace
it,
and quiet?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
At heart, I'm a country boy. That sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud, but I spent sort of my youth working my way into central London.
Hmm.
And actually I've spent my adult years working my way out of it from
Sure.
central London to the suburbs to the countryside. And the pandemic was a bit of a catalyst in that. I sort of had this deep long. I've got kids now, young kids, and I had this sort of longing to have some land and grow fruit and veg and live the good life. And
Wow.
that's kind of what I've got to. And I have to say, it's the probably the best decision I've ever made. I absolutely adore it.
That's great.
Uh, yeah, yeah, I really love it. I mean, I keep bees, and I grow lots of food. I build all kinds of buildings, and my I build an
Yeah,
outdoor gym and all this sort of stuff. And it's stuff that you can't do in central London.
you sound like a regular David Beckham. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wish.
that's so
Uh,
funny. How old are your kids?
9. My son is 9, and my daughter's 7. And they've got a lot of energy, but it's great that you can sort of throw them out into the garden and they can wear themselves out running around.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I grew up in the suburbs, and we had these small garden, and you could sort of do 100 laps of the garden and not be tired. Whereas these guys, they can do a lap and they'll be exhausted for the day. So it's quite nice.
That's funny. How has fatherhood changed you, would you say?
It's changed me um entirely, 100%. I'm a completely different person.
How
Um
so?
do I get asked this quite a lot. I talk to people about, I don't know, I'm becoming maybe this is good info, maybe this isn't, but I'm becoming more and more anti-establishment. And I think that's part of that is becoming a dad. You sort of have to answer these questions about politics and about religion and about all of these things, and questions that are, for me, I've been on the rat run, on the hamster wheel for well 35 years before I was a dad, and I just had to look after myself.
Yeah.
So I never really questioned the sort of status of things. As long as I was getting promoted and earning decent money, I could buy watches and cars and stuff, then I was happy. But now I sort of have this much bigger responsibility, I feel, and so I'm sort of, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking about things quite differently, and that, I think, was a big component of me moving to Subdial and having a very different career.
Mm.
Something that I can actually show my children and say, look, you can actually live a great life doing something that you absolutely love. Whereas, I was on that corporate rung of the ladder somewhere, and I always wanted to be promoted, and that involved working harder and working through the weekends and doing things that I just wasn't all that bothered about,
Yeah.
frankly. It was intellectually stimulating, but it didn't really warm my heart at all.
Right.
But I think what we're doing here at Subdial is actually quite special. We're sort of changing the game, I feel, and that makes me very proud. And I feel that that's a good role model position to be in, as a father. And
Sure.
I'm sure your child will look up at you and think, "Gosh, Wesley, Dad, you've done what you wanted to do in life, and I want that." And I really hope that that's the model that I lead for my family.
Yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate the sentiment. You mentioned neo vintage a moment ago. Um,
Hmm.
I started my year with a neo vintage purchase, and I my most recent purchase was also neo vintage. But
Was it
you've also
IWP?
no, neither. Neither.
Oh,
I actually have them both here. I never have these things like just sitting here usually, but
yeah.
so the very beginning of the year, I was on the hunt for a Hoyer, and I was
Oh,
like
yeah.
sitting on the sofa in Eric Wynn's house, and he was like showing me all these like, 2447 ends and things like that.
Oh,
But then,
they're the
you know
best.
what? Just
They're
for
the best.
monetary purposes, I saved $8,000 and didn't buy that watch.
There you go.
I
You,
went
you
with the
spent that eight
CS,
pounds.
the CS 3111,
Oh, yeah, of course.
which
Oh, mate,
is
that's
a
awesome.
bang
And that's on
on.
that's on the Millican strap. No, is it? Is it? No,
Well, yeah,
no.
this
You
is
get
the
it.
one I did with him.
Yeah.
So this
Oh,
is the
love it.
standard H racing strap from Mullican. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I love.
absolutely love this watch. And then actually this episode will come out after I announce it, but I can't wait to talk to you about this brand.
Yeah.
But
Ooh.
so it's a
Is that
Zenith.
Zenit?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I just picked this up on Friday, and I traded my modern Pepsi for it.
Yeah,
And because the market on a
great
modern
move.
Pepsi is high, and I
It's
feel
going
like
high again.
and I feel
Yeah,
like this market's almost criminally low, the same way
I
the Zeit
agree.
work is.
Yeah,
Um, and I've never owned a Daytona before. I've wanted this watch for 26 years.
yeah,
And I've told this story ad nauseum at this point, but basically, a guy walked into a shop I was working at. He had just bought one of those, and I fell in love with that watch. And that was in 1999.
yeah.
And so, yeah, finally got it. Now, is it the Grail Daytona? Maybe not, but like it's my favorite Daytona of the last 40 years, I would say.
Yeah.
Um,
I think those Zenith Daytonas, as you say, are criminally overlooked. I
yeah.
love the symmetry of the dial. I love the fact that it's an e-wash movement from Zenith,
Yes,
uh, and
exactly.
uh, and I'm sort of over this ceramic bezel thing. It's just a little bit. It just stays the same, doesn't it? It doesn't really show any change. It doesn't grow with you in the same way that vintage watches do, and
True.
so yeah, I'm fully behind that decision.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks. Yeah, I'm over the moon with it, honestly. I absolutely adore the watch. Like I said, I waited a long time for it, but part of the reason why I wanted to bring that up as well, which is maybe subconsciously why I put these watches here, is to jog my memory as to what to ask you.
yeah, yeah.
You're over Rolex.
Yeah, I'm over Rolex, and I'm sort of over Langer as well in a weird way. Uh,
Wow. Let's talk
yeah,
about this. Can we let's
yeah, sure,
we gotta
sure.
this game of ping
Which one do you
pong.
want to start with?
This, yeah. Well, let's go Rolex first. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, why? I think I had this, like many collectors, I had this sort of this collector's sort of evolution of the collector. This sort of, you start off with the affordable stuff. For me, it was Seiko. Still love Seiko, goodness
Sure.
me. And then you sort of, you grow up a little bit and you feel like you're more confident in spending a bit more money, and then you go through this sort of Omega, and then maybe onto Rolex. And Rolex is one of those brands that you can chop in and out of quite
Hmm.
easily, because it's just like a commodity at this point. You still get some volatility in price, but it's very, very small fluctuations. Um, and so, unless you step away from Rolex for a long time, and it's either moved on or it's declined quite a lot,
Hmm.
but I stay reasonably close to it. And at this point in time, I just don't feel the need for well, pretty much any steel bracelet watch.
Right.
Um, and so Rolex, it's a great do everything watch. I've got nothing bad to say about it at all, other than right now just doesn't speak to me. I see them all day, every day. I say all day, every day, like I'm in London all day, every day. I'm not. When I come up to London, I see lots of people in Rolexes,
Sure.
and I just don't think in my world, surrounded by watches, I don't think it says very much about you to have a modern Pepsi on, you know. And but I do think that a Zenith Daytona is something that speaks much more about you. That you've not gone for the latest and greatest. You've sought something different, and then different again in going for an earlier version of the what was the 116520. You've gone for the five digits.
Right.
And then, again, in that space, you look at condition. And if you find something that's so sharp and it's got the perfect patina and all of that, then again, those things are brilliant.
Yeah.
But still, there's not enough in there for me personally to choose that over a nice Cartier. I love a Cartier.
Oh, same. There's too many
Yeah.
for me to purchase, frankly. Like I just
Yeah.
I have a Tank Louis, and I'm absolutely in love with that watch. That was the watch I bought when I knew I was like going to be a dad, basically.
Oh, well
Well,
done.
or at least when we were trying for the first times. I was like, when we decided to have children, I was like, I need something versatile because I don't know if we'd have a boy or a girl. And I was
Oh,
like, a Tank Louis is perfect. And shout out to my friend Will because he followed suit and did the exact same thing.
amazing.
But
Yeah.
and it's a
Thank
great
you.
watch, timeless, it'll have my scratches on it. I got a new one, of course.
Yeah.
This was 3 years ago at this point. And I'm obsessed with it. And actually, I brought it to London for a wedding that I was at 2 years ago. So it works great on a black alligator strap. I keep it on
Yeah.
sort of a dark, dark caramel brown, actually. and
Yeah.
it's just beautiful. And the rose gold suits my skin tone. I'm not a yellow gold kind of guy.
Yeah.
Do you have kind of a favorite Cartier in your collection currently?
No. For right now, it's probably this one. It's my 100th anniversary
Oh,
Centre,
amazing.
which, it's yellow gold, but it's got that sort of creamy ivory dial and the Breguet hands, and that curvature of the ultra thin case, and
Unbelievable.
it's a bit of a greatest hits tank, really.
Yeah.
But I just love them all. I
Mm,
love them all deeply, and I don't know why. Really, there's something about the shape and about I don't know, the history and the romance of it all. I love it, and there's a lot. Um, a lot of those things I just reeled off that you don't get with a modern Rolex.
right.
You get great watchmaking and a robust and sporty thing that you can drop on the floor, and and then that's about it, really.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like this speaks to me as a person,
Hmm.
and it's just you're not going to see very many of them around, and
Right.
all that good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I just think again, like it's almost like you were saying with cars, like as you get older, like it's like when I look down at my wrist, do I feel like I'm trying to be 25 or do I
yeah,
feel like I'm actually 46? You know what I mean? And it's
yeah,
like, it's one of
yeah,
those things where I'm like, I need to be the man that I am and not the, well, I mean, there's something to say about trying to be the man you aren't, right? I mean, we all want to be race car drivers and we all want to be, okay, so let's jump on to Langa then.
yeah.
What's the bitter taste in the mouth currently?
Oh, there are two things, and I still love the designs. I love the watchmaking,
Yeah,
and in the pre-owned space, I really like the value proposition as
sure.
well. I think right now you can get an awful lot of watch for the money, but
Hmm.
the big risk with Lange is unless you know the service history, it's a watch that when it comes to servicing, you're at risk of really, really big bills. And I think Lange do that differently to Patek. Patek, certainly in the UK, have a not profit, zero profit P&L for their service center
Mm,
in the whatever the cost is for fixing these things, a Calatrava, whatever is like £1,000, whatever.
right.
Whereas if you take an 1815 to Lange, um, if they deem it as a watch that's been opened by a third party or gosh, been knocked or whatever, then it's really a blank checkbook for how much these things can cost to service. And we at Subdial we had a Lange one that went in for service. It was just a regular Lange one, and it came back with a £12,000 service bill on a watch that had a pre-owned value of 20,
Yeah,
and those sorts of things are real. A lot of people talk about it online, but it's a fact, and so I steer clear of Langer without knowing the service history. I'm much more comfortable if I know that it's just had a service or if it's been in the possession of one owner from new and they know whether it's been in or out. But anything that's sort of come via a series of dealers around the world, they might have opened it up and tinkered with it, then there's
yeah.
a bit of a risk there that it might cost the earth to service. And
That's
I like
insane.
watches. I like wearing my watches, and if they need a service, then fine. But I don't really want to feel exposed to massive amounts of money on maintenance.
Yeah.
So that was one part. And the other part is, I used to buy a lot of Lange from new, and I
Hmm.
think that the list prices have just got a bit crazy
Yeah.
in a post-pandemic world where the demand was super high for a while, and then prices were now raised up and up and up, and now I just don't see as much value in buying them new. But I do think in the pre-owned space, there's a lot of value if you buy the right watch.
I remember the 1815 chronograph, which is one of my I'm a chronograph guy, like at the end
Yeah,
of the day. And it's I remember it being, I think it was 40 or $44,000 when I
yeah,
first like fell in love with that watch, which was
yeah.
granted that was probably 10 years ago, but like I think it's 83 now?
Yeah,
S-
it's mid 70s in pounds at the moment. Yeah, I mean, I bought a couple of them in the 30s here, and that 30s is great, and it's a lovely
Sure.
thing to have a box fresh lager because they are
Yeah.
so pristine. You know, you cut that packet open, and you know, they're the first person that even breathes on it, and you look at it and you just think, oh my God, it's just perfection. You know, in the way that only German watchmaking can be.
Now, where do you
But
find the pricing for Patek then? Let's call it a 5170. Well, granted, that's out of catalog now, but
yeah,
that's
we
my
sell a lot
comp for
of
the
5170s.
1815.
Yeah,
Sorry?
yeah. We sell a lot of 5170s. They're a kind of mid 40s in British pounds at the moment, which is comparable to the 1815 chrono. I think the 1815 is a better watch.
Oh,
Um,
why do you
but
say that? Curious.
the movement architecture is unparalleled at that price point. It's unparalleled. It's
Hmm.
so good. And I really like the dial layout. I like the pulsation style. They had a Gen 2 in there somewhere without that pulsation script in it. It was just a little bit too much free space.
That's how I
Uh,
feel about the 5170. There's too much negative space in that dial.
so they did three variations, to my knowledge, of the 5170, and some of them had Breguet numerals, some of them had stick indices, and some of
This
them
is true.
had pulsation style with
Yep.
Breguets. And there are one or two of those variants that I actually quite like. I like Breguet numerals.
Same
And
here.
so, yeah. So when
Yeah,
you
it would
get
have to be the
a
5170p
Breguet,
with Breguet numerals would be the
well,
one
yeah,
that's it.
yeah, that'll be all right, won't it?
But not the diamond. I don't need the diamond dial. But
Do you know that's really subtle though, the diamonds on
it
that?
is. It is. But I'd rather have the Breguet numerals.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Patek for me is a brand that I can't get away from as much
Mm,
as I'd love to. And there's very little in the current catalogue that I really like, but
same.
there's so much in the back catalogue that I adore. I've just
Yeah.
picked up a 3796 SG. Do
Ooh.
you know that watch?
I know 3796. I'm trying. Well, SG would be steel gold.
No, no, I don't actually know what the S stands for, but
Okay.
it's Japan limited edition. I bought it because it's kind of a nice sister or brother to my Aquanaut. But it's a salmon dial in white gold. That's the G, and they made 100 pieces for the Japan market.
I think my
And
friend Wes has this watch from
oh, really?
Collector's Corner, New York. Yeah, shout out Wes. I think that's
Wow.
his. Yeah.
Oh, they're so good. They're so good, and they so rarely come up. And we got one in, and that's one of the troubles that I have. It's both a blessing and a curse that, you know, we get 150 watches a week in here at
Wow.
Subdial, and I get to look at them first because I'm doing these drop videos. And sometimes you look at them and I just don't want to part with them when I 2 days before the drop. So yeah, I'm like a kid in a candy store in a weird way. But
Sure. So what are the markers that make the cut for these watches to end up in the video? Is it because like, okay, we haven't featured one of these in a while, or is it like
yeah,
what are sort of the
it's a bit of a multitude of things, really. We try to curate the drop in a way that. So, firstly, we're not in control of what's coming through the pipeline.
oh
We
sure.
have 500 watches plus a month, and they are in a big supply chain that's sort of going through, arriving, getting checked through the workshop. Maybe they're being serviced, maybe they're being whatever processed, then photographed multiple times per watch. And then they come up and go, they get put in front of me for this drop video we do on a Thursday. And I sort of say, well, oh, I haven't talked about that one. And wow, that looks great. And my goodness, I didn't know that a Blanc pan existed. And, you know, all of that sort of stuff. There's always, you pick a random selection of 120 watches, say, and there's always going to be 20 or so that you can talk about.
Right.
And so that's the process by which we go through it. And I'll try to broadly, loosely pull together a theme, which might be, you know, neo vintage, or it might be Patek, or it might be, you know, bling sports watches, or I don't know what. I just make it up. Yeah, I talk for 15 minutes or something, and then George, our videographer, and he sort of chops it up into a way that makes me look not so stupid, and it comes together.
Oh yeah, I always enjoy those videos, frankly, but I I don't know. I just feel like you guys always have interesting stuff. You always have a great way of presenting them.
Yeah.
You're very natural in front of the camera. Is this
Oh man, thank you.
nerve-wracking for you, or is it
Yeah,
just
you know,
something you had to get used to?
I'm not someone that's naturally one to stand up in a room of people and talk. I can do it from my sort of experience as a management consultant. You
Yeah, I
kind
figured.
of have to do these sort of presentations and all those things every now and then. But I really didn't want when I joined Subdial, I really didn't want to be in front of the screen at all. I kind of like being around watches, but not necessarily someone that puts my head up above the parapet and says, "Look, I've got all these lovely watches, and I know all these nerdy facts about them." Uh, but we did a couple of screen tests when we decided after 5 years of being in business that we were going to go and do YouTube. And, my nerdiness and my enthusiasm, uncontrollable enthusiasm, tended to resonate best with the audience. So it just sort of stuck. And it's something that I revel in now, but it's still not the easiest thing for me to get up and stand in front of a video camera and just start talking. It's still fairly foreign for me, but yeah, I'm really pleased that we've touched wood. We've had lovely comments throughout the last year of being on YouTube, and
Yeah.
I hope it sort of continues. We've got 250,000 subscribers, which blows my mind. It blows my
So,
mind.
okay, I've always been curious about this, and I don't know if you can speak to this or if it's somebody
Yeah,
else in the building.
probably someone else.
So, so when you, so when you're a business and you have a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
I would imagine it still makes money through YouTube the same way like a vlogger would, right?
Yeah, yeah, it does. I think we turn off monetization. Um,
Really?
yeah, look, it's not a sort of revenue stream that we're necessarily looking to capitalize on. I think we would much rather have the videos go up without lots of adverts in them, so that we get more eyeballs on
I
the what.
see.
But we can turn that on, and maybe we will at some point in the future. But right now, it's about strengthening our brand and getting people to know about who we are and what we do. And yeah, maybe we could make a few quid. But we're in it to at the moment we're in it to build our brand strength in an industry that I'm very, very fond of. And I'm not a big fan of adverts.
Okay, so here's a stupid question because I
Yeah.
I I post these only just recently to YouTube. So like you're going to be like the third or fourth video basically. So
Okay.
and I know nothing about YouTube. I just do this because I think video's fun and it's a different way
Yeah.
for people to experience the show. Um, I guess so. Does that mean if you have monetization off, that means no commercials, obviously, right? But
I
if
think
you
that's right.
have
Yeah.
monetization on, like if you're Sam from Seen Through Glass, right?
Yeah.
Like, and he has like sponsors
Yeah.
oftentimes with his videos, and he can talk about that and have that commercial. I guess I forget because I have YouTube Premium, so I don't watch commercials
Yeah.
anyway. So,
Same.
like, does YouTube just pick whatever commercial they want to be in your
Yeah,
video?
I think so. You might have some degree of control over it, but I do think that yeah, you can have all sorts of things come up, and it sort of ruins the
Yeah,
experience.
no,
I mean,
absolutely. I've had
yeah,
YouTube Premium for so long, I
yeah,
haven't even thought about this actually. So
I'm the same.
that's funny. Yeah, I'll have to look into that then for me as well. Because I mean these episodes are long, so God only knows what
Yeah,
YouTube's doing to them.
who knows? Who
You know?
knows?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. So I'm glad we're talking about it.
Speak to George in our team. He
Yeah,
knows more about it than I do. Speak to
sure.
Justin. He must know more than I do.
Oh yeah,
Um,
good point.
I'm
Yeah,
blissfully unaware, but yeah, I know that we're not monetized, and that's deliberate.
yeah. What's the perfect three car solution?
Three car. Whoa.
Oh, you want to do three
Well,
watch? I thought that would be harder actually.
yeah, I'm getting closer to a three watch solution, and I'm
So the
increasingly
Centre,
thinking about. Well, so I've got a new card here when I get home. This has been delivered, which is a Santos Dumont 1913
Oh,
for CPCP. Do you know that one?
no, but
It's
it's
a
early.
1998. No, so it's exactly the same as the very first Santos Dumont,
Yeah, it
but
must be.
it's a 1998 re-edition of it
Oh, I
with
see.
big hands, and it's got this really odd case. It's a very different case shape. It looks more like a tank, but it's a Santos. So I'm hopeful that that's going to be one of the watches that sticks next year.
Can you send me
So
photos of that, please?
I will. I will.
Please,
Yeah, I
please,
bought it
please.
from Boulang and Sons, and they take
Oh,
wonderful photography, and I'm
yeah.
very excited about that watch. So they're that. I think actually the Aquanaut Japan edition
Oof,
5066, that's a
so
great
good.
one.
Yep.
It's kind of sporty enough, but actually suits my aesthetic. As I say, I'm not really a steel band at the moment kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then so that's yellow gold, and that's a steel, and there would probably be a complication in there, and because we're talking about it, probably a lumen work.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that's what a collection.
that would be
Yeah,
good.
I just
Mm.
the three watch thing is kind of tough for me. I think the three car thing is a little easier conversation, but yeah, I mean, another
I could do
complication
cars
I've
as well. I'd love to do cars as well. But
yeah, no, you
tell
should.
me what your watches would be.
Oh no, I don't even know what they would be, but one thing I've never owned is a perpetual calendar, and I've always wanted to get one. I just haven't found the right one. I mean, I would love, is it a 3940 or is that
Yeah,
an annual?
they're amazing. No,
Yeah,
that's perpetual.
that's it. I think that's the
Yeah,
one I would go for.
I love the idea of perpetual calendars, and I've got a couple. And when I go to them, and because I don't use watch winders, I hate watch winders.
Yes, same.
I never set them. I never set the right date and month and all of that, and you can always tell when I post a picture of any of my complicated watches that I haven't changed even the date wheel, let alone anything else. And
Yeah,
they'll sit in the safe for months, and then you'll pick it up, and I just set the time, whether it's AM or PM, I don't really care, and
sure. Yeah.
just start wearing them. Uh, that's what phones are for.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, if you really need it. Okay, so three car solution. What do we got?
Yeah, I
997
would.
GT3.
Yeah. Probably 997 GT3, probably a 993 CTOS, and then some sort of family off-roader. I've just bought a Cayenne Turbo, the new one, uh,
Ooh,
which I'm quite excited for. I've had one in the past, and this is the new one, and I think it'd be quite good. So let's go for that. Three Porsches.
wow. So not and two 911s, albeit that's interesting. See, I would have to go yeah, probably 997.1 GT3
Yeah,
manual,
they're
of course.
great.
Yeah, it's just like
Particularly now you can get the PCCM Plus in them, the Apple CarPlay.
yes, I did that to my 997. I put
Yeah,
the
it's great. It's a
oh my
game
God,
changer.
it's unbelievable. It works better than my GTI, and my GTI is
Yeah.
10 years newer.
Yeah.
Um, and I love a GTI, but that wouldn't be in my three car. It would have to be an Audi RS4 Avant.
Yes. Which
That's
generation?
hmm,
Manual,
B
auto?
B7 maybe. I
Yeah,
think
that's the best.
B7 is my favorite. Um, and we suck over here because we don't even import that car, and we haven't for I don't know 20 years. It's just
Yeah.
it's tragic, honestly. We carry the RS6, which is also unfortunate because that thing is just massive.
Yeah,
It's too
huge.
big. Um, I think all modern cars are just too big. Um,
Agreed.
and I've never owned a Range Rover, but
Yeah.
I think and I don't even know what generation I'd go. I don't know, man. This one, the SUV thing is tough because I think a Cayenne GTS might
Yeah,
actually be the
they're
move
good. I've
because
had
it's a
one of them.
sports car first, SUV second, is what I say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Range Rover is great. I've got one at the moment. I've got an L322, which is the sort of Clarkson's farm car.
yes, yeah, okay,
I've got that. It's a Westminster spec with clear glass, and it's Buckingham blue with ivory seats, and
oh
you know,
God,
blue piped leather and all that sort of stuff.
beautiful.
And it's amazing, but it's the car that I worry about starting whenever I use, and there's always a squeak or something that just annoys me. Whereas Porsche is so good at what they're so good at what they do.
Yeah.
They're really, really flawless cars and so reliable, and 2 year service intervals, which for me matters because I've got loads of cars and I always forget. And then it comes up and you're like, oh God, how am I going to squeeze that into my diary? You know,
So, with oil changes with the 911s you've owned, are you an annual guy or are you actually meeting the mileage?
God, I don't. So every other year it's the service intervals. I don't keep my Porsches long enough, frankly. In fact, I'm usually the guy that buys the car, services it, and then realizes I want something else, so sell it on,
Oh
uh,
God.
which is just ridiculous and tragic. Um, but no, my mileage is criminally low because I've got a
Mm,
few cars.
yeah.
I um, I never really put more than 2,000 miles on a car in a year, which is sad. Uh,
2000. Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean,
not
if you're going
much.
back and forth to a train station, that makes sense. If you were driving into the city center, then it would
Yes,
be a different mileage reading. We're both
yes.
huge fans of Roof. I
Oh my
want
God.
I want to know about this obsession from your side because
Yeah.
it doesn't sound like you've owned one before, or have you?
No, I mean, oh God, I've been tempted. But I think the ones that I really want are the very, very expensive ones. That was
Which
when
is
I was a
what?
kid. Well, the CTRs and
Ah,
all
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
latest
yeah,
ones
yeah.
that look like 964s and a little bit 993-ish almost.
Mm.
But they've got crazy engines in them and they're all completely made of carbon. Those are special.
Is there a
Yeah.
car consolidation that's possible?
Not one that my wife would approve of.
What does she drive?
She drives our BMW i3S,
Oh,
and
nice. Okay.
which I love. Actually, it's such a fun car for the school run, and it costs nothing, literally nothing.
Mm.
Like, it doesn't cost any road tax. The insurance is pennies, and I charge it using solar panels. Uh, so it's literally brilliant. And then she'll drive the Cayenne Turbo when that arrives next week.
Wow. So, man, between a watch delivery tonight and a car delivery next week, these are
Yeah,
good
it's not.
days.
It's well, it's not fun really. There's too many knocks at the door, according to people in my life.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Did you
Yeah.
did you ever order a Morgan?
Yeah, well, I tried. So the new Morgan, the plus six,
Yeah.
the brand new one, I really, really wanted one, and I went and spoke to them and said, because when the videos first came out, there were a few people. I think Harry's Garage talks about it, possibly coming in a manual variant at some point.
Okay.
So I went straight to them and I said, "Look, I've heard this might be coming. Put my name down, please." And they have said, sort of, it's probably not going to happen actually. Um, and if they do, it would need to be a sort of group of a number of people, 20 to 30 people that all need to club together and say, look, we'll buy 30 cars if you
Right.
put a manual gearbox in it. And it will cost, 25% more than the list price
Sure.
typically. So I want one if it's manual, but I don't think it's going to come, sadly.
Right. Okay. You sort of launched a new podcast with Justin. We've mentioned Mr. Justin
Yeah, did
Hess
you listen
several
to it?
times. Last night. Yeah.
Cool.
Not even because it was in preparation for this by any stretch of the imagination, but what's funny is I found myself screaming at the screen, like
No,
because I was
really?
just like, yeah, because I was like, I felt like the fifth member, right? And like
Yeah,
on top of
yeah,
that, um, and I've swapped some messages with Jake before. The
yeah.
fourth gentleman I actually don't know of at all.
Salim, yeah.
Yeah, so
He writes a really good Substack called Deadbeat Seconds. It's mainly on Langer. He's a Langer guy.
okay, yeah, 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 yeah.
It's worth checking out.
And he seems to travel all the time, it seems.
He does, yeah. He's in the pharmaceutical world and he travels a lot.
Yeah,
But fortunately for us, he's very good at these sorts of things. Very eloquent chap, and so
yeah.
yeah, he's good at being a sort of fourth component to us three. Jake Ross is a longtime friend, a man in time on Instagram, and
Yep.
yeah, he and I, well, we buy and sell cars and watches together frequently,
I
have
was
done for
gonna
years.
say, who's the bigger negative influence, you or Jake?
Negative in what sense?
Just
Because I see,
costing each other money.
well, you could spin that in a positive light,
Well, sure.
bringing
You know what
enjoyment.
I mean. You know what I mean. Whose
Um,
wife doesn't like the other man worse? Like,
yeah, no. Well, that would be me. Yeah.
oh, you're the more negative. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Which
Oh,
I
you
find
know,
myself, so like I'm really good at helping other people spend their money. Like I've
yeah,
that's what my career has been, right? Like I come from a
nothing wrong
retail
with that.
background. And no, there's immense pleasure in it because there's almost like this vicarious nature too. Like
Yeah,
trust me,
yeah,
I live a very wonderful life. I don't have the things that many people have. And that's totally fine. It gives me
yeah.
something to work for, right? But and there's also more to life, obviously, than just these things. But why not enjoy them? Of course, that's a totally different conversation. But yeah, I look at because Jake he has a Testarossa, right?
Yeah, 512 TR.
Does
And
he
it's
enjoy that car? I mean, it's beautiful to look at. I hear sometimes they drive the drive is a coin flip as to if it's good or not.
I think he's got lucky. He bought that car and someone had spent a lot of money on it.
Oh,
So
beautiful,
I think he's done all the the pre-purchase inspections and it's all green lights all the way along.
wonderful. Good for Jake.
So yeah, that's a car that I love to look at. It's not the car I would buy personally. I've
Right.
sort of flaunted with buying a 575 recently.
Oh, right.
That's a lovely, lovely car, a little bit newer and a little bit more reliable, perhaps. But yeah, there's something about a Ferrari, and I applaud Jake for having that car because it's just lovely to see them on the road.
Outside of a GT4 Lusso, I would F12.
Yeah,
F12 would be my front engine V12. I think in blue posi with a cream interior or like a tan, like that
yeah.
like s-
Daytona seats.
oh
Oh,
Jesus. Like
yeah.
my God. So so the gray dial Longa 1 came up in conversation in your little round table with Justin. I think Justin brought it up. Little known fact, the 101.030, I believe is the reference.
Yeah,
That was the Longa that I was oscillating between getting
yeah,
outside of the one that I own. I was
yeah,
so just confused. I was like, do I go silver dial, which white dial by all intents and purposes, or this gray dial, which
yeah,
clearly isn't in the catalog currently, which would have implied that I was getting a pre-owned watch,
yeah,
all the service thing, you spoke about it. I went with the silver dial.
yeah,
Many people would argue that Loom has no business being on the hands on the Longa one. I argue the reason I went with loomed hands is not only I wanted a brand new one for myself and I didn't have a
yeah.
choice because I wanted white gold.
That's
Um,
it.
but more importantly, it's legible from every angle in almost every light situation. Whereas I find when it's missing the loom, there's several angles during the day that you can't read the freaking watch. And
Absolutely.
and like honestly, I honestly was just like with the gray dial, I couldn't find one in person to see. And I was like, there's no way I'm buying this without touching it first.
Yeah,
So that was the
it's
other thing.
interesting. The pre-Richemont layer ones, the very early ones around the year 2000, they didn't have anti-reflective coating on the front or the back, and so I had a Darth from with papers from like 1999 or something like that, and I knew that the sapphires were the original ones because they didn't have AR on them, and as soon as you send that watch in for service, Langer replaced them and you get because without them, you've got a really reflective dial and really reflective hands and a crystal that doesn't help with any of that. And you're like,
Right.
oh, I have no idea what time it is at all. Yeah,
Right.
so I do understand that completely.
And I really wanted it to be a daily wear. Like I think that it is
Yeah.
my most worn watch this year. And as a result, I couldn't be happier with my choice. But God, that gray dial is just exquisite.
It's really good. Yeah, they didn't make many of them either, and it's been an interestingly sticky watch that because I think it's really well priced. But
Yeah.
it's gone now actually since the podcast that we did. But yeah, I don't really know why it wasn't more like a, £30,000 watch as opposed to the £20,000 watch. I think
Right.
it's rare and it's beautiful, and it's Langer, so it
Yeah.
should be more valuable than that. But hey,
You know,
it's an interesting market.
you mentioned the Darth, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Have you ever held a Darth next to the 30th anniversary from last year?
Next to the Onyx style.
Yes.
No, I've not held them next to each other, but I've
I'm
held them
curious.
individually.
Yeah, I'm curious as to like the experience and how it
Well,
differs.
Onyx is it sort of sucks light out of the room. It
It looks
really
like Vanta
reflects
Black.
very, yeah, it does exactly that. It's got very low reflectivity,
Yeah.
whereas Darth does have lots of, it's a kind of a sunburst black. And so they're quite different in the metal, actually.
Mm,
I love Onyx. I love stone dials on dress watches,
yeah.
but I still prefer the Darth.
Why?
I like pre-Richemont Langer.
Oh, I see.
And I liked the fact that the Darth was the only watch in the collection that had the black background with white date wheels.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
And now that they've done it a few times, I'm over
I see. Yeah, gosh, that is funny. That's funny.
it.
Yeah, I mean, recycling of ideas is tricky, isn't it? Because it's
Yeah,
like it's almost like and this is no shots at Longa. Like I love that brand. I love
yeah.
like IWC and Longa are like that's where my heart lies, right?
German brands, hey, and Porsche.
As it were. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I often joke that I'm half Japanese, half German.
I
Even though I'm like Norwegian most of my
have
bloodline.
no idea. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I know my height wouldn't give that away at 5'10". Um yeah, I'm not 6'4", but yeah, anyway, I think I forgot. Yeah, just the recycling it just I don't know. It sort of goes down the road and of like just capitalism in and of itself. And you see this in fashion all the time where
Yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
something works, okay, well then let's double down on this next year. And it's
Yeah,
just like just let it exist for what it is, like
exactly.
let it be its own idea and
Too much of a good thing.
yeah, and look, I mean, the Darth not being Onyx, for me that may be enough distinction. But if they've
Yeah.
done it the Darth a couple different times and blah 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 blah, I don't know, like it changing from a white gold case to a platinum case, that's not big enough difference to me.
No.
Like, but like a dial being a precious stone, I mean, that's okay, maybe, but I know what you mean though. Like it
Yeah.
kind of takes the sweetness out a little bit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. But I do think Langer are still cranking out some quite good limited editions. That recent one from, is it even this week with honey gold and chocolate dial?
Oh,
That's really
the
lovely.
Daymatic,
Really. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
beautiful.
think that edition of 250 is fairly ambitious. I don't know whether they'll sell all of those that quickly, but it's a beautiful colorway.
Yeah, I think it's the honey gold is the aspiration. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, everybody wants the honey gold,
Oh
which
yeah.
I got to be honest with you, with that new Saxonia thin that came out in September or October, whatever that was. I was there
Yeah.
when it came out. Um, uh, I would choose the platinum with the
Yeah.
onyx style over the honey gold personally because
Yeah.
it's that much more of a stark contrast, and I really enjoy contrast.
Yeah.
Um,
Honey gold's interesting. It is a lovely metal. It's
have
a
you seen
really
the
interesting.
Odysseus?
I have, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I was
That's
in Geneva
unbelievable.
this week.
That
Yeah,
was,
Ben Clima's got one, hasn't he? And blimey, that looks good whenever he posts it.
yeah.
Uh,
There's not much Ben owns that doesn't look good.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, yeah. He's got good taste.
Yeah, he does have good taste. I find that I actually like really appreciate a lot of what he wears. I mean, even down to like his sport coats, I'm like,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
great pattern, like I really like that coat.
yeah.
Um, Tim, thank you for your time.
Oh,
Um,
been a pleasure. It's flown by.
yeah, we got to get you back on. I'm sure with the revolving doors, so to speak, there's
Yeah,
plenty to discuss.
there'll be new cars and watches we can talk about anytime. So, yeah,
Great.
no, thank you. Thank you, Wesley. It's been an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure.
And it was great to see the old office. I'm eager to see the new office.
You're welcome anytime. Yeah, it's good fun here. It's good party vibes when we have our clubhouse events.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a good space for that.
Awesome. Okay, buddy.
All right.
Well, listen, thanks very much.
Take care.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas to you, and we'll
Likewise.
speak again soon.
Yeah. Okay. Cheers.
All right, mate. Take care.